In this lesson, you're going to model the properties of multiplication using groups and tiles. I'm going to do an example of each property so you can see what you are going to be doing in this activity. Then it's going to be your turn to complete the rest on your own. Now the first slide has the zero property of multiplication. First we're going to write the expressions in words. I'm going to do this first one for you. Now I'm going to use the text tool, and your PowerPoint may look a little bit different than mine if you have a different version, but you can find the text box and you can add a text box to write the expression in words. Now I would write this expression as 4 groups of 0. So I'm going to write that out in words. 4 groups of 0. So now that I've done that, I'm going to now model the expressions with groups and tiles. Now, your tiles are up here in the corner. You're going to have green tiles this time that you can drag and move. And your groups are going to be created using shapes. Now, mine says that I'm going to be making 4 groups of 0. So I'm going to need 4 groups. And I can make my groups with circles or with rectangles, it doesn't matter. But one thing that happens if you're using this version that I'm using, it will fill the shape automatically. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to tell it no fill. There's another way that you can do that, and that is by right-clicking it and go to Format Shape. And then I can click on No Fill. Now, I am going to copy and paste this. I can do that by clicking here, copy, and then paste. And I need 4 groups. So now I'm going to I'm going to paste until I have 4 groups. And my zero property of multiplication tells me that anything times 0 has a value of 0. Well, I have 4 groups of 0, which means I don't have to put any tiles in my groups because they're groups of 0. And the total value that I have here is 0 because I have 0 tiles. Now let's go down to slide number 3, and I'm going to show you an example of how to do one of these with the identity property of multiplication. Again, the first thing you're going to do is write the expression in words. Do you remember how to do that? If you said use a text box, you were correct. Now, I would read this expression as 1 group of 5. So I'm going to write that out in words. Notice I'm even writing my numbers out in words. So now I need to model the expression with groups and tiles. How many groups am I going to need for this one? If you said 1 group, you are correct. So now I'm going to create 1 group. I don't want it to be filled. And how many tiles am I going to put in that group? You're right, I'm going to put 5 because it's 1 group of 5. So now I'm going to drag my tiles in here. Now that shows that the value of 1 group of 5 is 5 because there are 5 tiles. And that's the identity property of multiplication, that any number times 1 is going to be itself. It's going to have its own identity. That's the identity property. Now you're going to do some of those on your own. And I'm going to come down here to slide 5, and we're going to look at the commutative property of multiplication. The commutative property gets a little bit more complex. There are actually 4 steps you're going to complete. Let's look at step 1. Write the expression in words. Well, I would write this as 4 groups of 3. Now, step 2 says I'm going to use the commutative property of multiplication to write an equivalent expression. Well, I know that the commutative property of multiplication means that I can change the places of the factors and still have the same value. So I'm going to come over here on this side of the screen and I'm going to write an equivalent expression. Since this is 4 times 3, or 4 groups of 3, I'm going to write 3 groups of 4. And just for fun, I'm going to change the font size and color. Let's bring it up to 28 and let's go with orange so that way it can match this one. Now, I'm going to look at step 3. Write the new expression in words. So now I'm going to write this new expression that I just wrote in words. And I just said that it's 3 groups of 4, so I'm going to write that. All right, and step 4 is then model the expressions with groups and tiles. So here I'm going to model 4 groups of 3. Since I need 4 groups, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to format shape, no fill. I need 4 groups, so I'm going to paste them 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I have 4 groups of 3. So that means I'm going to put 3 in each group. Do you know what the value is going to be of 4 groups of 3? If you said 12, you are correct. And we can count our tiles and see that the value of 4 groups of 3 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now let's come over here to our next one. This is our expression we wrote using the commutative property. It should be an equivalent expression. So let's check that out and see if it is. We have 3 groups of 4. So this time I need 3 groups. Again, I don't want it to be filled. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it until I have 3 groups. Now how many tiles go in each group? If you said 4, you're right, 3 groups of 4. So 4 tiles will go in each group. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 4 more is 12. So 4 groups of 3 has a value of 12 tiles, and 3 groups of 4 also has a value of 12 tiles. The picture is just shown differently. This is an example of the commutative property of multiplication that tells us we can change the order of the factors and still get the same value or the same product.